Your daddy's the one who takes care of you and feeds you and makes sure you're all right. That's the real dad. And I just came here, just want to share a few words. I want to thank my father first and foremost for being the man of God that he is, and imparting a few things in me. First of all, as fathers, as men, you got to remember the things that you say to your children, whether it be for good or bad, sometimes it impacts them and stays in their brain for a long, long time. And I remember as a kid, my dad always taught me that to be proud of the name Feliciano. And you know, when I moved down here, you get a lot of people who are not used to our names, and they mispronounce them. And I always make it a point to correct them. And they say, oh, who cares? What does it matter as long as you know who he is? And I said, no, no, no. My dad always taught me that I got to be proud of my name. So if you're going to say my name, you're going to say my name right. And I make sure they say it right. So, you know, I thank you for that. He always taught me to be a hard-working man. You know, my dad was always a hard-working person. And people see me there and they go, man, you work so hard. Why is that? I said, because that's all I know how to do is work hard. Because that's what I was taught to do. And last, my dad gave me 3 things that he gave to me that have, even as a kid, as little as Leilani I probably was, have always stuck with me. The first, my dad bought me my first comic book. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. It was a Captain America comic book. And my mom was in the hospital, and I was so worried about my mom in the hospital. And my dad came and he brought it to me, and he said, here, read this. And I just been blown away ever since. To this day, at 28 years old, I'm still a comic book geek. To this day. Second, in 1993, I remember my dad sitting me down and putting a videotape in the cassette player, and we watched this little tiny guy named Horace Gracie beat up a bunch of fat guys. And he told me, he said, see that little guy beating up all those fat guys? You don't let nobody pick on you like that. And he taught me my love of fighting and my love of martial arts. So I thank you for that. And third and most important, my dad taught me my love of the scripture and the things of God. My dad always taught us that God is number 1. Always. I remember him pulling me in the kitchen and saying, God is number 1. God is number 1. Even when times are hard. You know, my dad always did his best whenever he could. I remember days when my mom was in the hospital and my dad would make spaghetti and meatballs, Chef Bardi, with a glass of milk. And he said, if you don't like it, put some sugar in it. And that's what we had. And then I remember I said, Dad, I'm still hungry. He said, here's what you do. You eat all the noodles and leave the meatballs. Then you take a piece of bread and you put the meatballs in the bread. And now you got a meatball sandwich. And it worked for me. I was like, oh snap, now I'm spaghetti and a meatball sandwich. And you know, that was, but it made me feel better about the situation. You know, my dad always, you know, there was times that my mom wound up in ICU and he always just had a way of making it seem like everything was going to be okay because of his faith. And I just want to thank you, Dad. And I want you to know that you did everything right in raising us as children. Whatever decisions we made is decisions that we made as adults. Not as kids, not as teenagers, as adults. So don't blame yourself and don't feel like you had any fault in anything that we decided to do after you raised us the right way. And I just want to thank you. I want to thank my mom for making me also the man of God that I am today and the parent that I am. And I thank you because, you know, my mom's a little overprotective, but it made me overprotective. So I thank you for that. Because sometimes Miriam's a little loopy, and she'll smack Leilani with the door or with her purse or something. And she doesn't mean to. I know she don't mean to, but if she didn't have me watching behind her, I don't know, she probably had 4 broken arms by now. But I thank God because my mom made me that way. And lastly, I want to thank my wife Miriam for burying this little girl of mine that is my pride and joy. You know, I woke up this morning and she was laying next to me in the bed, and I just thank God for her so much. She's the reason why I do everything. She's the reason why I go to work and I work so hard. And she's the reason why I get up in the morning, because I want to make her proud of Daddy. And I know she is. And she has something to say, right? Go ahead, say it, baby, so you want to shot. Go ahead, say it for me, though. Mom, what? No. Hello? You sure? That's it. probably wants a meatball sandwich. He does it.